Hi, and congratulations on the purchase of your brand new 2018 Pathfinder SL. I really hope that this video is a huge help to you. This is going to go over everything that we've gone over during the delivery. I want to make sure to cover all the features so that should you have any questions after you leave the dealership, you can just refer to this video, or as always, you can call, text, or email me, or pop back into the dealership and anybody will help you with whatever you need. So let's get into some of the features on this, because this is an extremely feature-rich vehicle. Make sure that you understand how to work everything, and then, like I said, any further questions, just get in touch. Alright, so we're going to start with the steering wheel. So we've got a lot of features on the steering wheel. On the right hand side here we have our cruise control. So with this, if we watch the top of our display up here, as I turn the cruise control on, you'll see we get a couple little indicators there. These indicators tell us that the cruise control has been turned on. We also see a few lines over on the left side here. So on our steering wheel, we have a button here that will allow us to determine the distance of 1, 2, or 3 car lengths, depending on which one you set it for. What that does, that's in terms of the intelligent cruise control. So while you're driving, and if you've got the cruise, let's say for example, set to 80 kilometers per hour, and you're approaching the vehicle in front of you who is going slower, let's say that they're doing 70, and you do not have an opportunity to get out and go around, what happens with that distance? Once you're within the distance, your Pathfinder is going to readjust your speed to match what the vehicle in front of you is doing. So if they're doing 70, it's going to drop your speed on the speedometer down to 70. However, your cruise up top here is still going to say 80, right where it says KMPH, or KMH. The moment you have a chance to get out and around that vehicle, or they move, the Pathfinder is going to bring you back up to the cruise speed that you have set, which in this case would have been 80 or whatever else you've got it set to. To set your cruise, you're simply going to push down once you get to the desired speed that you're at, and it will show you your exact speed up at the top here. From there, if you want to cancel your cruise, you can either hit the cancel button, turn it off, or tap the brake. Any of them will disengage the cruise control. If you want to decrease your speed while you're in cruise, you can just tap down a couple times and you'll actually see the number drop down. If you need to increase, you can tap it up, and the same thing, it will increase the speed for you. On the left side of the steering wheel, starting from the bottom, we have our Bluetooth hands-free and voice recognition. So these buttons here will control all of that. The phone is extremely simple to set up. All you do is you make sure that you're in the Bluetooth settings within your phone. You're going to hit this button here. Then we notice over on this side, it comes up, and then we're going to select phone by saying add phone. Add phone. From there, it's going to give you an indicator that it's searching for your phone. Just follow the voice prompts that come up. This is typically something that we would go through and help you set up right at the dealership, but if you're looking to set up a second phone, or you've got a different phone, this is how you go about it. So we're going to cancel it here at the moment. And we'll go back. We'll get over to that screen in just a moment. Also, your voice recognition will allow you to control the navigation system. So your navigation system will come up with a bunch of options on the screen that we'll go over in just a moment, that while you're parked, you can go through and you can set where you're going to go for your destination. However, while you're driving, a lot of those options gray out, as they are a safety hazard to be operating while you're trying to drive. So as a result, our voice recognition button right here will allow you to do that on the fly. So when you hit that, you simply say navigation, wait for the voice prompt, and it's going to ask you to put in a street address. Now, it's currently going to be set to the province that you're at. If you want it for a different province, then you just set it for a different province and then tell it the street address. From there, it will automatically put your destination in, and away you go. You're good to go. It's all in, and your hands have never left the steering wheel. Your eyes are not focused over on the navigation. They're focused forward the whole time. Our source button will change the source of your music. So this will change to a whole lot of different options. So if we look over here at the audio, we've got options for FM, satellite radio, AM, disc, which is our CD player that's still in all of the Nissan vehicles, an iPod if you've got it connected, a Bluetooth enabled device, or an auxiliary device, or through the USB port. All of those are options that you can stream music through, and as a result, this button here will allow you to flip through any of those so that you can actually set it to the one that you want while you're driving. Directly above that, we have the volume for our radio. Because you have the SL version of the Pathfinder, you have a Bose premium sound system in this. It has an absolutely amazing sound system. Definitely take use of that. In a couple minutes, we'll get over to the other screen and into the settings so that you can actually change some of the settings on your Bose sound system. Above that here, now we've got a couple options. So this enter button, currently, if I hit up or down, it will actually cycle through the different presets that I have set on my radio. There are a lot of presets that you can set, and again, we'll get to that as soon as we get over to the main display. But simply by hitting up or down, it will go through the different presets so that, again, your hands don't need to leave your steering wheel while you're changing the radio station. We've got a back button here, which is going to pertain to our driver assist display. Now we're going to have a look at that. So this button right here is for your driver assist display. We're going to have a look at the different features. The screen that we are on right now is the home screen. So we get a lot of information on the go here. In the top left corner, we've got our temperature outside. Right here, this tells us that we are in auto mode for your driving. So you can set this to two-wheel, auto, or you can lock in the four-wheel drive. When it's on auto, what that's going to do, you're going to drive in front-wheel drive about 95% of the time, which is your two-wheel drive. As you pull away, you're going to be in four-wheel drive. Once you get going, you're going to drop down to front-wheel drive. If you encounter any issues where you do need the additional boost in power, or any traction issues, which on a day like today, you're definitely going to run into a few of those. But the traction issues, whether it's slippery roads, hydroplaning, loose gravel, whatever may cause the traction issue, the four-wheel drive automatically re-engages as long as it's needed, and then once you get past that traction issue, it's going to drop back down to front-wheel drive again. It does that for better fuel economy. So they wanted to make sure at Nissan that you get the optimal fuel economy while maintaining the power that you need, and this is how they do it. We've got our gear that we're in right now, which is park. Again, as I mentioned, we've got information related to our cruise control. Down the bottom, we have our odometer. This little icon here is in relation to the automatic emergency braking on the front of the vehicle. So if you close the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you too fast, what's going to happen is your vehicle is going to beep at you, and it's going to push the gas pedal back against your foot. If you don't react quickly at that point and either hit the brake or steer out of the way of the vehicle that you're about to come in contact with, the Pathfinder will apply the brakes for you. It's going to beep a bit more and a little bit faster, but it will apply the brakes for you to avoid the oncoming collision. We've also got another indicator right here for your blind spot detection. So our blind spot indicators are right here on both sides of the vehicle. They light up a dull orange when you have a vehicle that's in your blind spot, whether you're passing it or it's passing you. As long as that indicator is on. So if the driver's side indicator is on, for example, and I signal to go left while that indicator is on, that indicator is going to start flashing, and it's going to start beeping inside the vehicle to let me know I have a vehicle in my blind spot. Don't make that turn. I still want to do my shoulder check just to be safe, but that's your first indication that you should not turn right away. And then we've also got our kilometers to empty on our gas tank. So this gives you an idea of what kind of a range you have. That's going to vary depending on your driving, whether it's strictly city driving, strictly highway driving, or a combination of both. So our next screen here takes us over to our tire pressure monitoring system. With this screen, it's going to tell us the individual tire pressure of all four tires once we get driving. From there, if you have a low tire, it will give you a message to tell you that you have a low tire, but it's also going to give you the exact tire that you have the low pressure on, and it's going to show you what the pressure is. The beauty of this system is when you stop at a garage to put air in your tire, and you put the air hose on the stem and start putting the air in, once it gets to the right pressure, the car horn is going to beep once. So the Pathfinder is going to tell you, you're done. Stop putting air in. Once you get back inside, the warning is going to be gone. Your tire that had the low pressure is no longer going to be yellow, and everything's going to look good again. On the next screen over, this is related to the front and rear wheel drive that I mentioned, the 4-wheel drive. So in here, it will show you when you're in front wheel or when you're in 4-wheel, based on being in auto or 2-wheel drive or locked into 4-wheel. It'll show you the different variations, and as you hit those different conditions that I mentioned for traction or extra power, you'll actually see everything change right here. It's pretty neat. This screen shows you what's going on with your radio. So as I mentioned, if I hit the source button, it will start cycling through some of the different options that you have there. And if I hit the enter button up or down, you can see right away it goes to my presets. Our next screen over is a compass related to your navigation system. Now this will change when you engage the navigation system, so that instead of a compass with a vehicle in the middle of it, you're actually going to see a blue arrow pointing either to the left or to the right, and a distance, and that distance is going to continually count down as you get closer to the turn that you're going to make. The navigation system is also going to speak to you as you get closer to your turns to tell you where you have to turn. Our next screen over, this is where any warnings would show up. So if you had a low tire, low wiper fluid, one of your doors wasn't properly closed, it would give you more information on this screen. And to get rid of those warnings, all you have to do is correct the problem. So if it's a low tire, you put some air in the tire. If it's one of your doors isn't shut properly, just shut the door. There's no need to try and go into any settings and clear off the warning. It will clear out on its own. The last screen here is your settings screen. Now, for most of these, I typically just change one setting. I go into the vehicle settings, and from here, I'm going to go down. And there is a lot of settings in here, but I'm going to go to the auto door unlock. By default, Nissan vehicles automatically unlock the door when you turn the vehicle off. Although most people tend to prefer when you shift into park that it unlocks, so that if you have a passenger you're letting out, you don't need to shift into park and then hit the unlock button. So this is the one setting I typically change by coming in, and I'll say shift to park, and it pops back out. And if I go back in to look, that's the one that's highlighted. So from here, I'm going to use the back button, and I'm going to come back a couple of screens back to our settings. I do recommend going through and actually checking out all the settings. Don't be afraid to change anything. If you're worried that you're going to mess anything up, all you got to do is come back to the factory reset. Hit that. It's going to put you back where we were about 20 seconds ago, and then you can just go back in and change the auto door unlock. Our next screen takes us back to the home screen. So that's everything that you can control right from the steering wheel. Next up, we're going to have a look at what you can do from your signal indicator and your wipers. On the right side of our steering column, we have our wipers. So we see a few different options here. If I simply push that up once, my wipers will make a single pass across the windshield. If I pop it down into the next mode, this puts me in intermittent mode. This dial here will allow you to control the speed that your wipers are going to go while in intermittent. This dial here is for your back window. Again, there's an intermittent and then just regular on and off. Our next click down puts our wipers on regular mode. They're just going to keep going. And then our final click down puts them on high speed. That's for your heavier rain conditions or heavy snow. So we're going to pop all the way back up. Now I do want to mention, where we have a push button start, your key fob, should the battery get really low and it's just not working, what you're going to want to do is put that Nissan emblem directly against the key fob button and use that to push the button in when you start your vehicle. It's still going to allow you to start it. From there, you are going to want to get a new battery, and going to the Nissan dealership is the fastest way to do that. On the left side of our steering column, we have our turn signal indicator, and we also have our lights. So because you have an SL Pathfinder, you have auto lights. This is awesome because once it's on auto, you never have to worry about turning your lights on or off anymore. They're going to come on as it gets dark out. They're also going to turn off once it gets bright. But if you hit a day like today where it's kind of bright out, yet it's a mix of snow or rain or whatever the case may be, if you have your wipers on regular speed, once they make 4 passes across the windshield, your lights are automatically going to come on as a safety feature because you've got them set to auto. Now, if I turn the lights on, I see an indicator down here. As long as that indicator is on, I can also turn on my fog lights, and that indicator will also come on. However, if my lights are not on, if the indicator is not lit up, and I turn on the fog lights, you notice that they don't come on. They will only come on while the headlights are on. And then we have our standard signal to the left, signal to the right. Next, we're going to look at some of the buttons down on the left side of the steering wheel before we move over to the center console. So down below here, we've got a few buttons. So our first button on the left side here is our traction control. I highly recommend just leaving that alone. By default, your traction control is on. Pushing that button is going to turn it off. Most people tend to do this on a day like today, where there's snow on the ground and they don't feel the vehicle is moving fast enough for them because the wheels are not really moving the way that they want them to. So they'll turn the traction control off. Your wheels are going to spin a bit faster with the traction control off, but I recommend leaving it alone because as they spin faster, your vehicle tends to start sliding from side to side as well. So it can create a dangerous situation if you're not familiar with it. Again, like I said, I do recommend just leaving it alone. Next up, we have our heated steering wheel. This is fantastic. This steering wheel is a leather wrapped steering wheel and it gets so toasty warm. A day like today, where it's 0 degrees, it's cool out, you don't want to come out and have your hands on a cold steering wheel. Just engage this and you notice the light turns on and that activates our heated steering wheel. Makes it really nice and warm very fast so that you don't have cold hands on, or hands on a cold steering wheel. Next up, we have the button for our power lift gate. So you need to hold that button for about 2 seconds to open the power lift gate from the inside of the vehicle, as well as close it from the inside of the vehicle. Down bottom, this button is for the sounds related to your blind spot detection. Again, I do recommend leaving that on, although we get some people that don't like the audible sounds that come with it. As long as that button is on, as I mentioned earlier, if there's a vehicle in your blind spot and that's lit up and you signal, that will flash, but because that button is lit up, you also get your audible sounds that tell you that there's a vehicle there. If you turn that off, the indicator is still going to work and it will still flash when you signal, you just don't get the audible sounds to go with it. We have a button here. If you're going to tow anything, as the towing capacity on this vehicle is 6,000 pounds, make sure you put it in tow mode once you connect up to whatever you're going to tow. It's going to help the vehicle so that it's not overpowering, it's not struggling. It gives it the necessary power that it needs, proportioned properly, so that it's a smooth, seamless towing. Also, if you're going to use the plug for the towing, make sure that you turn that on. You see the indicator comes on, and when you're not using it, keep it off. There's no point in sending any power back there if it doesn't need to be there. On the door, we've got buttons to set our memory seats, where it is an 8-way power driver seat. So I can move forward and back, up and down. I can adjust the back of the seat forward and back, and I've got lumbar support. So with this, find the setting that you like with your seat, as well as with your power mirror. Once you have that all set, you're going to want to hit the set button and then 1. And you hear a beep, the light lights up, and that tells me that I'm now set for setting 1. For your significant other or spouse, do the same thing. Set, and then 2, and away you go. It doesn't have to be a significant other or spouse. It can be a partner, it can be just a friend. Just make sure that you've got your own settings in there. That way, should somebody else be driving your vehicle, even if it's one of the Nissan technicians after working on it, once you get back into it, you can hit your own button and everything's going to go back to your setting. You only use the set button to set your setting. Once you're getting back into it after somebody else has driven, you simply push the button and it will move all your settings back to where you had them. Alright, let's have a look over at our center display. Alright, so we have a ton of options on the center display here. Right away we notice we have a very large display, really nicely set up. Currently it's showing the navigation system. So the first thing I'm going to show you is what happens when we put it in reverse. The moment I put it in reverse, I get my backup camera. Now it is beeping at me right now because the sonar is on and I am extremely close to this concrete flower box. So we've got our view in the back here, and we've got our directional lines as well as our distance lines. The distance lines, as long as you stop by these red hash marks, you have room to open your power lift gate. Otherwise, if you need to get closer, we can actually see the bumper right across the bottom here, so if you're connecting to your hitch, you can get in nice and tight. On the right side of our screen, we have the 360-degree round view monitor. So this makes use of the backup camera, two side cameras underneath your side mirrors, and a camera that's up in the front right around the Nissan emblem. You want to make sure that all those areas are clear when you're clearing it off, especially this time of year. As we go back into park now. So we've got our touch screen here. It is a nice size touch screen. I can go through and I can resize simply by squeezing or opening it up. Also, I do have a magnifying glass here. So I can turn this dial we see there, we go out. The message I had was because I was all the way zoomed in and I can't actually zoom into the building. But by turning the dial, I can adjust the zoom level on that. Makes it nice and easy. Everything that I want to do from this touch screen, I can also do using the buttons down below here. So if I hit the camera button right now while I'm parked, instead of showing me out behind the vehicle with the 360-degree view, I've got my 360-degree view, but now I have in front of the vehicle. You notice it needs to be cleared off a little bit. I've got some snow in there, but again, we have some distance lines to help with any parking. So if I hit the camera again, I can see down the passenger side of the vehicle to see how tight I am to the vehicle next to me and where I am in relation to any lines. So we're going to go back to the navigation screen. On the app screen, there is a lot of different things that I can set in here. I can set the clock, I can set it for a compass, there's an app garage, all kinds of different options in here, and as you go into each one, it takes a moment or two, but then it goes in and you start getting some different options there as to how you want to show it. So that's for the clock right there. There's also a settings screen for that. So we're going to back out of there. Our climate. This is really, really nice. So right now, our rear climate is off. So if I come in here, I can hit on. That's for my rear climate, for my passengers. I can also go through and I can adjust the temperature on that, either using the dial down below here on the driver's side, or simply by using the touch screen. I can also change the fan up or down, or I can set it to auto, which it's on right now. As long as it's on auto, that fan will adjust itself. So it's going to dial it up as needed to either warm or cool that area back there. And then as it gets closer to that temperature, it's going to dial that fan back and just do what it needs to maintain it. So we're going to turn that back off at the moment. And we're going to go back to climate. I can turn my air conditioning on from here. I can adjust my temperature. My fan is right there, or I can use the dial down below to adjust the temperature. You see they both change. Now I can either push this dual button or the dual button down here. Either one is going to turn on the dual climate control, and right away I see my passenger last time had the temperature set much higher than I do. This is great if you and your passenger like different temperatures. You can each set your own temperature. I know my wife and I tend to like it about 4 or 5 degrees apart, so this is great for a situation like that. Once your passenger gets out, turn off the dual climate. It resets everything back to the driver's side, makes it nice and comfortable. Our audio button, if we come here, we see we've got lots of options. As I showed you earlier, lots of different options here that you can switch for your audio. you can set up to 36 presets on this, and it can be a mixture of FM and satellite radio altogether. So you don't need to worry about switching back and forth up top here. All you got to do is just set one of those, and away you go. Makes it nice and easy. There's no worry about bouncing back and forth up here. Our map simply brings up the view of the map while you're driving, and again, you can set the zoom ratio on this. The navigation portion of it, this is where I mentioned that while you're driving, a lot of these will gray out, which is where you use the voice recognition from the steering wheel. Or while you're sitting still, you can enter an exact street address, and we notice our province is set for Nova Scotia by default. We can go for points of interest, where you can either spell out the name, you've got restaurant, shopping, ATM. There's a lot of options for points of interest. So you can pick whichever you like from there. You can set your home destination. Now, for anybody who buys one of these with a navigation system, when setting a home direction or a home destination, I usually recommend setting it for something close to your home that you absolutely know how to get to from there. The reason for this is a safety precaution. Heaven forbid somebody steals your Pathfinder. You don't want them to go straight to your house if they hit home. You don't want them to get that close. So by doing that, by setting it close to home, for example, I live in Cole Harbour. If I set it for Canadian Tire in Cole Harbour, I know how to get home from there. So that will get me right where I need to, and then I'm good to go from there. We've got a destination menu, which again, lots of options in here. We've got route, so it will show us different routes. You can go into the settings for that. You can change some of them to avoid toll roads, avoid bridges, avoid highways. Lots of options there. So we're going to set that back to our map. Over here, if we hit the status button, this is a nice little view because this will show us what's going on with our climate control as well as our radio up above. Our info screen gives us a lot of info on this vehicle. Fuel economy report. So this will show us what's going on here. Now, because I'm sitting idling, it is going to make my average fuel economy look a little worse than what it typically is. We've got an EcoDrive report, a traffic information report, map information, and Nissan Connect services. Nissan Connect services is a subscription-based service. If you're wanting it, absolutely go in and connect it. There's a lot of benefits to it. If not, those features are not going to work. From there, we've got a settings screen. There are a lot of settings here. Now, I mentioned right from the steering wheel, you could hit the voice recognition to set up a phone. You can also come in here to connect a Bluetooth device, which would include a phone. We've got options for our phone, navigation, audio. So from here, you can go into the sound settings. Everything is set to the default at the moment. And if I use my dial to turn, I can scroll down. But here you can increase or decrease the bass, treble, the balance from the left side of the vehicle to the right, and the fade from the front to the back. This button here, I recommend having on at least 3. The speed sensitive volume. So while you drive on the highway, the road noise on any vehicle tends to get a little bit higher, and your radio typically sounds a little bit lower. But with this set, as you speed up, your radio will also get a little bit louder without you doing anything to compensate for additional road noise. This is a really nice feature. As you slow back down, it's also going to tone back down, so you don't have to worry about playing with the volume settings on the radio. Screen settings, volume adjustment, clock settings, Nissan Connect services, voice recognition settings. The camera sonar, so we heard it beeping earlier when I put it in reverse because of what was behind me. I can go in here and I can change that sonar to either be off, I can change the sensitivity of it, and I can change the volume of it. So all kinds of options within the settings. As we move over, we've got a phone button here. Now there's no phones connected, but if you had one there, it will list some options there as well. So this button here is for daytime, nighttime. You can adjust the brightness of your screen there. Most people tend to leave it on auto because as it gets darker out, the screen will adjust for a darker mode so that it's not hurting your eyes with how bright it is. And then down below here, if you just want to see your fuel economy, this button here with the gas tank will show just fuel economy on it. So like I said, lots of features on that screen itself. And then you do have a back button and you have a voice button, and the voice recognition kicks in there. Down below here, we have our CD player. Really easy to operate, just pop a CD in, hit disc, and away you go. Right now it says no disc because there's none in. You can set it for radio, media. As I press this, USB not connected, iPod not connected. And then it goes over to auxiliary, which is not connected. So a couple options within the media itself. We'll switch that back. Scan is going to look for radio stations. It's going to stop on every radio station for a couple of seconds and then move on to the next. If you want to stop on one, just hit the scan button again. Random or repeat is for any device that's connected, where it will randomly jump from track to track and it will repeat as necessary. Your seek cat and your track, those will allow you to skip back and forth over tracks on a Bluetooth device or CD. Or while you're on the radio, it will jump radio station to radio station to find you the next one available. Down below here we've got our air, so this is to put it onto recycled air as opposed to fresh air coming in by default. This is to turn on the rear climate control. Air conditioning is pretty obvious. Mode. So by default, I'm going to switch our view up here to climate. So we see right now our mode has the air going to the floor. When it's on auto, most times it's going to do that, especially in the winter, because heat rises. And if it pushes heat to the floor, you're going to warm up the whole vehicle pretty quick. However, if I push this mode button, we'll see that I can change where the airflow is going to go, from the floor up to the vents. Whoop. Back to the floor in the window. I can get a combination of both. Or, if I simply hit this button down here, it will put all of my air up onto the windshield. So I typically just leave it on auto. You can have it set however you want, whatever's more comfortable for you. This bottom button here for our rear defrost will activate the rear defrost to clear off our back window. It also activates the heated side mirrors, and if we look in the corner of the mirror, the top left corner, and it's the top right corner on the other mirror, we've got the exact same symbol as we have right here. So by activating the rear defrost, we activate the heated side mirrors, which will clear off any dew or mist or any snow or ice that's on your mirrors, so that you never have to put a scraper or a brush on them. Down below we have a couple of USB ports strictly for charging. Now we saw an option to play music was through USB. If you want to do that, you need to open up your center console and connect to one of these devices down here. We've also got audio in, video in down below. We can change our brightness right here for down by our feet, and we've got a 12-volt power port inside as well. So we've got a nice large storage area there. We notice right here we've got upper and lower. I open the lower. If I open just the upper, we've got another smaller storage area. Great for throwing your wallet in so that you're not sitting on it while you're driving. Finally, down below here we've got our heated seats, and I can tell you they are toasty. I've had it on this entire time. On high they get really nice and warm, and they heat the bottom of the seat as well as halfway up the back. It's fantastic while you're driving. I recommend using the low even during the summer. If you're going to be driving for any more than 20 minutes, stiffness tends to set in. That will help combat the stiffness because the heat promotes blood circulation. So that's a fantastic feature to use all winter long. Up in front here we have an auto dimming mirror, and then we've also got some buttons here for home links. So you can connect to garage doors on this one, up to 3 of them, so that with just a push of a button you can open your garage door. We're going to move up a little further here. We've got some controls. Now I'm not going to operate this one today because the weather outside is less than favorable. However, this will allow you to either just simply tilt your moonroof open to ventilate or to open it right up, at which point it drops down and folds back. This button up here is for your back one. That will open and close the screen that you have there. For the screen on the front one, simply pull it across and away you go. The SOS button here is for emergency services. That ties into the Nissan Connect. Check into what's available in terms of the different packages that they have. There is some great services there, and the SOS feature is really nice if you need it. Next up, we're going to have a look towards the back and see how we can operate the different ways that the seats go. So our middle seats will fold down for cargo or collapse and move forward to allow access to the back seats. And then we've got our 50/50 flex seating in the back as well, and a hidden storage area. So let's go have a look at that. So in the back area of our Pathfinder here, we've got a couple options. So right away, even though you can control the climate from up the front for the back area here, your passengers can also control the same thing. So if I hit auto, right away everything comes on and it's set to 23 degrees. I can increase the fan or decrease the fan. I can increase or decrease the temperature as well, or put it back to auto. I can also turn it off. I've got a couple ports back here for charging. And because you have the SL version of the Pathfinder, we've also got heated seats in the back area here. Again, really nice. They get toasty warm and they heat up to halfway up the back of the seat. Let's have a look at the seats. So we've got a nice configuration on the seats here. It's a 60-40 split. If you don't have anybody in the center one, you get an extra armrest and cup holders, spot to throw a phone or another device. Down below here on the seat, we've got our cargo lever. If I pull that, my seat folds down to allow a ton of cargo space here. However, if I need access to my back seats, and I'm going to put this back seat up just so that we can see. So if I need access to that back seat for somebody to sit down, there is a small lever on the side of the seat here. As I pull that up, everything collapses and I can move it forward, and I got lots of room to get into the back seat here. Once the passenger's in the back seat, you can slide this back into place. There is a bar under the front. You can adjust the seat to allow for more room in the back as well as in the middle area here. So that works really well. Let's have a look at our flex seating in the back. As we have a look here, we see one half is up, the other half is down because I just put one side up. This is our 50/50 flex seating. So to drop this down, I give this a little tug and drop that. I lift up here, everything drops down. If I want to get it back up, right from here, just give that a pull and lift that up. So great storage area when everything's down, extra seating when everything is up. Also underneath here, we have some extra storage. So you can store whatever you want within here. We've also got the subwoofer for our Bose premium sound system. Now, if need be, if you need to access your tire iron and your jack, everything is right there. The tire iron would also be used to drop down your spare tire. So we just simply give this a little turn and pop it out. You will put your tire iron right on there and turn that, and it drops it underneath the vehicle for easy access. Let's have a look at a couple power options for from the outside. I do apologize for the wind. It is a bit of a brisk day today. Hopefully it doesn't interfere with the sound too much. So as we look at our key fob here, we can see there's a few buttons on it. On the bottom here, we've got our panic button. Next one up is for your power lift gate. Hold that for a couple seconds, it'll open it. Same thing to close the power lift gate. Then we've got our keyless entry. So we've got our unlock and our lock. These will work from about 150 feet away or closer. Our top button here is for the remote start. So the way that this works is you hit the lock button and then hold this button for about 5 seconds, and this will remote start your vehicle from up to 150 feet away. From there, it will run for about 10 minutes or until you engage the vehicle. After the 10-minute mark though, if you're not in the vehicle and engage it, it is going to turn off. With that said, if you should be running a little bit behind and want it to run a little bit longer, simply hit the lock button to add 10 minutes to the count. You can do this once. So if you're about 7 minutes into the count, for example, and you hit the lock button, this will take you all the way up to 17 minutes worth of running time in the remote start. Or if you decide that you're not going anywhere and you just want to stop the vehicle, just hit the top button here and that will stop it. For our power lift case, right under the center, roughly where you can see the hitch, as long as you have the key fob on you within about 3 feet of the back, and it will not work otherwise, you just want to give a quick in and out kick motion. You hear 3 beeps, and then the power lift gate opens up on its own. From there, you can either hit the button to close it, you can use the key fob, or I can give another kick in and out, 3 more beeps, and away it goes. To open it, you can also hit the button up and underneath here. Quick and easy. The intelligent key system on this applies to both front doors. We've got a small button here on the handles that, as long as you've got the key fob again within about 3 feet of the vehicle, simply push that button once to unlock the door that you're at, push it a second time to unlock the entire vehicle, and once everybody's out and the doors are closed, push it once and it will lock the entire vehicle. Because there's a key fob and the intelligent key system, if that key is inside and you get out and push that button, it's going to beep a lot, but it's not going to lock the vehicle. It's trying to tell you that the key is still inside, but it won't lock it in. I know this has been a lot of information, which is why we did the video. It's the same information that we went over as you received your Pathfinder. I hope this has been a huge help. I really hope that you've had a great experience in buying your SL Pathfinder. I know it's one of my favorite vehicles. I truly hope it's one of yours as well. If you have any questions, even after watching this video, on how to do anything at all with your Pathfinder or about your Pathfinder, please call, text, or email me, Robert Ty, or come on into O'Regan's Nissan. Anybody here will help you if I'm not around, and if I'm here, I will make sure to give you the same experience that I had when you bought the vehicle, which is an A+ experience. I look forward to seeing you again, and hopefully anytime that you're in service. Congratulations again on the purchase of your new 2018 SL Pathfinder.